there are tons of great business ideas out there that anyone could make work with determination. But if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you will burn out.
Welcome to Island Influencers, where we share stories of successful business owners, experienced professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders based or with influence in the Isle of Man. This podcast is brought to you by Thornton Chartered Financial Planners, because great financial planning has the power to change your life. Now here's your host, Sharon Sutton.
Hello. This week's Island influencer, Tanya Anderson, perfectly embodies the spirit of green living and sustainable gardening. American-born author, blogger, and YouTube personality based on the beautiful Isle of Man, Tanya's become a gardening guru for many, with over 200,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel and an ever-growing social media following. Her platform, Lovely Greens, is a treasure trove of information and inspiration. But Tanya doesn't stop at gardening. She also transforms her homegrown plants into natural soap and skincare products. In our conversation, we delve into Tanya's life story from her early days in a farming community to becoming a prominent figure in the gardening world. We'll also get some insights into her favourite gardening tips, learn about her experiences on the Isle of Man, and hear about her exciting new projects, including a new book in the pipeline. So, without further ado, let's welcome Tanya Anderson to the show. I'd like to welcome you, Tanya, to Island Influencers. I'm such a fan. Massive gardening fan, and I first came across you on Gardener's World, and when I went to check to see when you were on, it was actually 2019, and I could have sworn it was much more recently than that. But
well, they recorded that clip and they played it 3 times. So
right.
They played it again in 2020, and then they played it again, so a 3rd time, not on Gardener's World, but on another program with the BBC, which I was only alerted to by one of my followers. So yeah, 3 times.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, for the benefit of our listeners who aren't quite so familiar with you and the work that you do, could you tell us all about yourself? And I mean, obviously your accent is not from around here.
No. I'm American born, but I've lived in Britain since 2006. So I've been here for a while.
Yeah. And
I used to... Sorry, that's the puppy slamming the door.
Authenticity, we love it.
There we go. What was I saying? So my original career path was in mobile phone design. So I used to work as a user interface designer. And I worked in Germany doing that. I relocated to London, and I kind of got a bit fed up with being in London and just that hectic work pace. And I rediscovered gardening when I was there as a hobby. So It was actually Gardener's World that I came across on television. And I was really inspired to start gardening. I grew up with a family that it was just a way of life. There was always a vegetable garden.
Well, which part of the States were you? My sister lives in Colorado, and there's like 2 months where you can throw seeds in and anything will grow, but the rest of it, no chance.
Yeah, Colorado is a much different climate from where I'm from. I'm from Washington State, so it's just south
Seattle.
of Canada.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm from a little island north of Seattle called Whidbey Island, which is actually smaller than the Isle of Man. And that's where my mother's family are from. And just growing veg was just always a way of life. And I have really fond memories of picking raspberries and all of that.
Yeah.
But you know how it is. It's not really that cool when you're a kid and a teen. You kind of go on.
No, I wonder why that is. Maybe we could do better to attract. I mean, my son, he's 17. He's not interested in the slightest. But
but you know what? The thing is that if you get them involved when they're young, and I was, and lots of kids are these days, then they'll go through the phase of not being interested, and then all of a sudden it comes back and you rediscover it. And that's what happened with me.
Oh, good. Well, I hope that happens with him. Let's see. So you were back in London and you decided, well, you had enough of that. What brought you to the Isle of Man specifically?
Well, my ex-husband and I we were both consultants by that point. So I'd moved over and I was working for Samsung initially, and then I was consulting for a private client. And we just were thinking of ways to leave London and ways to work online potentially. And the Isle of Man came up as an option through an advert on television. And I still remember it, just sitting there on the sofa and wow, this is an incredible place. Visit the Isle of Man, the Anderson family farm and all of this. And my ex said that his mother had been here on holiday when she was younger, when there were ferries to and fro from Scotland. And it just kind of stayed with us. And then that's how we actually landed here back in 2010.
Yeah, amazing. So the Isle of Man, once you moved here, did you start a garden right away or?
Immediately. We were renting a house with a front and back garden in London. And I really got stuck in with containers and with the garden itself there. But I was working full time. But when we moved to the Isle of Man, I was not working full time. And so I jumped at the chance to start an allotment, and they were just starting the Laxey and Lonan allotment at that time, and we were living in Laxey. So I got to start my allotment from a grassy field, the same as everyone else. Yeah. And then I took a beekeeping course, and I really got stuck in.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be able to give up work and to be able to do this. But the quality of your blogging and your website, it's all superb stuff. I mean, it's the highest quality. How did you get it? Do you have a film crew, or is this all yourself? You just set up. I see a load of tripods behind you. For anybody listening to on a podcast, I can see that Tanya's got a load of at least 2 tripods I can see behind you. So
yeah, I'm a one-woman band, and
you're amazing at it.
Thank you so much. But you know what I think is that everything that I did in the past, so my work with designing phones, with graphic design, my background in photography, all of that, I didn't know at the time, but I could use those skills to create my own business. And one of the biggest outgoing costs when you're a content creator is paying people for film editing and photography and website design and all of this. And if you can do it yourself, you can save an incredible amount of money, but also have complete control over everything.
Yeah. Oh no, it's wonderful. Well done. I'm really enjoying it. So when you see you came to the Isle of Man, what year was it?
That was 2010. So it's been 14 years.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So you're a complete stayover now, as opposed to
yes.
come over. Nice. Very good.
Yes, I am. I love the Isle of Man. My partner is from the Isle of Man, and we've definitely dug our heels into the north of the island now.
Yeah, and everything else by the looks of it. I'm envious of your polytunnel. That looks amazing.
Oh my goodness, it is incredible. It's called a polycrub. It was designed in the Shetland Islands to withstand storm force weather, which we have on the Isle of Man, as you know.
Yeah, we do. That's the only thing that's held me back from getting a polytunnel is like they blow away, but yours looks like it withstands a huge amount.
Oh, it needed planning permission and that full gamut, but it does not budge in the wind or any storm. It's just steadfast.
Oh, brilliant. So if I'm right, you don't still have the allotment, or do you? Have you?
I gave it up last year. I was very sad and very reluctant. I didn't want to give up the community aspect of it, but we have half of an acre here at home, which probably about half of it is now garden space.
Yeah.
Or that we're using for fruit trees or whatnot, or for the bees. And I had to give it up. And it was a bit of a relief, but at the same time, it was the end of an era being part of that community.
Well, lucky whoever got your allotment when you moved out. They must have thought it was all their Christmases had come at once.
I know them, actually. They're involved in the bat group and also the allotments, and they're lovely people, very focused on wildlife. And so they've cultivated that aspect of the gardening style that I have, which is to encourage wildlife. Yeah.
No, I fully get that. I saw you, you did a new video just recently, having had your time off with your eye surgery, and you said something about gardening and how it's a great balance between workers and consumers. You work and you consume, but the gardening is a great link. And I just really like the way you put that.
The modern world is extremely stressful, and we are born into this system where we are, shut off to school. We have to learn a profession. We earn money to pay for how we live. It's just there's not very good work-life balance for most people, I would say. And I feel that gardening and growing your own food and taking control of whatever outdoor space you might have is one way to grasp a little bit of freedom and a little bit of control over not just your life and your health, but over that little patch of earth that you have. It's great for mental health. It's great for learning a skill and being involved with the soil and nature. And it's just so many positive aspects to that.
Yeah, indeed. So how did you when you created the garden, you started what was the order in which you sort of built up to what you have now, with all the products and the YouTube channel? How did you sort of go on that journey?
Well, these days people understand what a content creator is because it's really just taken off. I've been in this game for a lot longer than most people. And when I first started, there was nothing like that. I had a little blog that I started more for fun than anything else, as a way to connect with other people of like minds. And I wrote some projects, or I shared some projects on there and some recipes, and they went viral, some of them. And that's when I really kind of realized, oh, I could make some money off of this, because if I have display ads on there, I can make a little bit of an income. And so I started off doing that. And I remember I used to make £10 a month off of that when I first started. It was just so minimal, but it was something.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And then over time, I just added to that. And I started my business making handmade soap at the same time. And I started sharing soap making recipes and all of that. And it has just compounded. And I've been able to help a lot of people from all over the world to learn how to garden frugally, more naturally, and also to use plants to make handmade soap and skincare. And so that launched me into YouTube. And I started that in 2014 as a way to, I guess, make the ideas I was sharing on my website more accessible. So for people who wanted to watch rather than read. So I started recreating some of my ideas there. And I never checked comments. I never went back. I would hit publish and I would never go back to YouTube. Didn't watch anything. And all of a sudden I realized I had over 10,000 subscribers.
Amazing.
And then nowadays I have a lot more than that, but I
spend
more time.
You're over 100,000 the last I checked.
Oh, I've got, I think, 212,000.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of people on there, and I'm able to reach a lot more people with that message of growing your own and living simply.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a lot of commentary on single crop agriculture and how bad it is for the soil. And, you'll have probably seen Clarkson's Farm. I don't know if you're a fan of that, but the latest.
Oh, I am. I love it.
so fun. And the latest, the rock star he had turn up and did a wheat and a bean crop in the same field to put the nitrogen, to fix the nitrogen back in the soil.
He made such a faux pas in that. Anyone who's in the know who was watching that was cringing, because beans, they do create nitrogen at their roots on their little nodes. But as soon as they start flowering and producing beans, the plant uses that nitrogen and puts it in the beans. So there was no nitrogen going from the beans into the soil. So, frustrating.
Yes, but I love that you promote the no dig and the perennial use of perennial vegetables. And I'm sure more people would grow them if, those things were more freely available. I mean, where do you even start by getting seeds for perennial vegetables? Honestly,
they're seen as a niche type of vegetable, but if you're just starting out, they are the best ones ever, because a lot of them are so low maintenance. You plant them and you can have them for 5, 10, 20 years, and you can continuously get a harvest from them at least once a year. As far as where to get them, some of mine came from the seed swap that I help to organize every year. So
I know, I must
Lexi,
make that. I still haven't made that.
oh,
I've got to
you
make
must
that.
come. It is fantastic. And you can find all kinds of wonderful and unique plants there, both vegetables and flowers. But there are some great suppliers in the UK too. There's a lady named Mandy who is also kind of a one-woman business. She's got a company called Incredible Vegetables and various other places.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. So, Tanya, I believe you've also been busy being an author as well. Although I knew you already had a book out. So, have you got a book?
I have a book out, and that came out a couple of years ago. It's called A Woman's Garden: Grow Beautiful Plants and Make Useful Things. And it focuses on different female gardeners. So there's 8 through the book, and what each person grows in their garden and how they use plants.
That sounds amazing. I must get a copy.
It's done very well. It's reached a lot of people, and I will be putting in for my next book proposal with my publisher this year. I feel like I'm finally ready. We moved to our house 3 years ago, and we've just been grafting here in the garden and the house. And it wasn't time to write a book, because the first book, it took so much time and effort. It was incredibly stressful because I did all the photography, of course, all the writing, and it was definitely my baby. But
all the growing. You did all the growing.
All the growing, of course. Yeah.
So it's for a timestamp for this. We're in the sort of middle end of May. So the fact that you can find time to come inside is truly organized of you.
I've been out sowing some carrot seeds just before.
What sort?
Well, I've got 3 that I sowed today. In fact, let me go grab the seed packets. So just here.
I've tried purple ones this year for the first time. None of them have come up yet.
My first one is a purple one. It's called Deep Purple. It's an F1. And then I've also put in Red Samurai, which is a Japanese red carrot. So it's got a reddish pink core. And then I also have just an orange Chantenay red carrot. And this is this is the tub that I use for depositing seeds once I sow them, because I'm so busy to reorganize them back into my seed storage. Yeah. I just don't even do it for a while. Just throw them in here. We'll sort them out later.
I have something very similar. That's wonderful. So I think at the moment you're focusing on small containers from your. How is that working out? What is that part of that project?
Well, yes, it will definitely come into play with my book as well. Well, you were asking me earlier about my kind of mission statement video that I released a couple of weeks ago. And I understand that I have a bit of an aspirational outdoor growing space. Not very many people have that amount of space to grow in, especially if you're living in cities and in suburban areas. And so although I'm going to continue sharing lots about the entire garden, I'm focusing this year on small space gardening. So growing on your patio and growing in a smaller greenhouse and in containers, just to show how feasible it is to grow in any space, but especially small spaces. You can be incredibly creative in a small space.
Yeah, I mean, I love the recent blog that you did recently about overwhelm. Yeah, how overwhelmed you are, yet you still wanted to do the bees, you wanted to do chickens, you wanted to do this, that.
Oh,
cooking,
that's resonated
baking.
with so many people. Oh. I shared that on Instagram and it has something like 64,000 likes. It's crazy.
I'm not surprised. I love my garden. I go outside and I immediately breathe. It's just so stress
Even
releasing.
though there's the weeding to do, things to get in, you're so mindful and focused on what you're doing in that particular moment that you can forget about everything else.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to move on to some other questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
So if you don't mind me asking, and I do primarily ask this in my day job, which unfortunately is not gardening, it's as a financial planner. Um, so how was money for you growing up? I mean, what are your earliest memories of it?
We didn't have much money, I'll be honest. My parents didn't have that great of a relationship, and my father was away with work for a lot of my childhood. So we did struggle a bit. I remember getting the gift of a dollar bill as a ring, folded into a ring. I think that's my first memory of money as a physical object, and I cherish that. It was in a Christmas stocking when I was quite young.
Oh,
I babysat. I started working actually in fields when I was 12. So I picked strawberries as a summer job, and I
did you eat
carried
many?
on. Oh God, I ate so many.
We can get a rash if you eat too many, apparently. You didn't get
Oh,
to the rash stage.
I
No.
did not get to that stage. If you put a kid in a strawberry field, they'll gorge themselves on the first couple of days and then they'll get sick of it. But it was hard work. But I earned my own money after those 2, 3 weeks. And then I was able to use that money to buy what I wanted. I mean, we had very tiny allowances growing up. I think kids these days, a lot of kids, they have a completely different experience to work and getting allowances. I also worked roguing spinach in fields. So a lot of people don't know about the inside and outs of growing spinach for seed. So you basically walk the fields with lots of other kids. I think probably more migrant workers these days. And you look for male plants that need to be pulled out so that they don't accidentally pollinate the rest of the crop.
Oh, no, I've never heard of that before. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a farming community, so this was just part and parcel of growing up, and lots of kids did it. It wasn't like I was the only kid forced to work in the fields,
no.
but that was my
Fascinating.
first, yeah, that was my first paycheck, actually, picking strawberries.
Yeah, brilliant. So define what being rich or wealthy means to you.
Having time, just having time to do what you want and not have to worry about meeting bills, like having enough money to live peacefully and without stress, and having time to enjoy living. That's wealth.
That's a great definition. Very good. And of all the things you've done throughout your life so far, what's given you the most fulfillment?
Of all the things that I think what I've built, I had no idea that this would ever happen, that I would create a business, Lovely Greens, and that it would help so many other people, but also that I would be able to indulge my passion at the same time. I'm so proud of what I have, and I honestly have to pinch myself sometimes that this is my career.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, there's no part of what you do that I haven't found of great interest. I have to admit, I'd recommend it to any of our listeners to have a forage around your website. It's
Thank you.
really good. So for any, it leads us neatly onto, for any existing or aspiring business owner or entrepreneur, what would be your number one tip to achieve fulfillment and success?
Well, there are tons of great business ideas out there that anyone could make work with determination. But if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you will burn out, and you'll probably be less likely to try to find workarounds to make your business work if you're not enjoying what you're doing. I think also on the Isle of Man, it is a little bit challenging for certain sectors of business as well. I mean, I've had to make changes to my business to accommodate for things like Brexit, which really affected my business in Europe. So I used to make handmade soap and send it off to European customers. I can no longer do that because of Brexit rules. Post office prices have gone up dramatically. You send a parcel from the UK here, and if you want to, and it will be £1 to £2 cheaper than if you take the same parcel and send it back to the UK. It's insane. So I've actually shifted away from a lot of my physical products and I focus more on digital, which is a lot easier to deliver around the world than actual physical products.
Yeah, you had a screaming deal on. I saw recently with a load of collaborators. There was a big bundle you could have gotten. I
oh
forgot.
gosh, yes.
I forgot.
Oh.
Missed out.
Yeah, that was the self-sufficiency bundle. I get involved in the bundles maybe once a year. I think last year I did it twice, and oh my gosh, it's such a great deal. So I put one of my digital products in, and lots of other creators like me, they put theirs in, and we just sell them together at such a steep discount that a lot of people think that it's a scam. It's crazy, but it's brilliant. Absolutely love being able to do that.
It was really brilliant, and I regret that. Anyway, so if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would you tell yourself?
Well, first of all, 18-year-olds don't like to listen to advice from anyone. True. So I wouldn't be upset if my 18-year-old self just ignored me. But I would say that everything is going to be fine. That don't stress about what everyone is telling you should be doing. And when I was 18, the mentality then was you go to college, you pick a profession very early on, you stick with it, and you stay in the same job for decades. And it has changed so much since then. And what I went to university for, which is visual arts and graphic design, I'm able to use in my current profession, but it's not where I am now. I have completely shifted and changed. And so life and career choices are so much more flexible than they used to be.
Yeah, aren't they just? Well, that's wonderful that, this transferable skills that you learned from your university experience. I mean, maybe that's the key outcome these days.
But it's even simple things like touch typing. I took a touch typing class on a whim in high school. What would we be able to do without being able to touch type? I mean, I know lots of people who don't.
Yeah.
What a struggle that would be. There's so many transferable skills. And I think if you look at school and university, college, and additional courses as just creating a skill set rather than a defined approach, you can use that to start a business easily.
Yeah, as you've proved. Fabulous. So what do you do, given that you're doing my hobby as your business, what do you do to relax and keep your life in balance?
I'll be honest, my work is my life, which is great. There can be some stress with getting things planted on time, especially if I'm doing something for a video. But I live my dream. I live my interests. And I don't know if that's a boring answer or not.
No, really. I just pray that you have a good back.
We just got a puppy who interrupted us earlier. She's just down here on the floor. And this has actually started to become a little bit of a hobby as well, just taking her out for walks, doing more sea glass hunting on the beach while she's running around.
Are you still in the Laxey area? Is that where you still are?
No, we're near Ramsey.
Oh, right. Well, it's always sunny up there. That's the sunniest place in the island. So
it is honestly sunnier and a little bit warmer, I might even say, like 1 to 2 degrees. When I drive into Laxey, you can see the temperature change sometimes.
Yeah, brilliant. And okay, this is really appropriate for you. What was your favorite trip you've ever taken, and when do you go on holidays? Because you've got a garden, right? So you can't just take off in May or February.
I know. Well, I do have a short trip later on this month, but it's 3 days, and so that's fine.
Yeah, turn the irrigation on.
And I'm going on my own, so my other half is staying home to water the plants, take care of the puppy. My favorite holiday that I took, I would have to say that it was a trip to Romania. In recent memory, we went because it was just kind of an obscure place that we hadn't considered before. No one else had gone. And so we went for just over a week, so not very long. And the country outside of the main city of Bucharest is wonderful. It is such a contrast. The food was amazing. We spent a lot of time in the national parks, hiking around. It was just incredible. I want to go back. I would love to explore Eastern Europe a bit more in the future when things have settled down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So we mentioned before about the slight challenge for the Isle of Man with things like postage. But what are the best things about living on the Isle of Man?
As far as business is concerned?
Well, I mean, generally speaking.
Okay. I love the safety and security here in the Isle of Man. I love that not very many people know where it is.
Yeah.
It is a special hidden gem of a place that I feel that we should really protect, not just from a natural landscape point of view, which is stunning, but from a cultural perspective and population perspective as well. It's lovely the way it is.
Yeah,
Can you hear my cat crying in the background again?
I can't actually, no. No. Well, it adds to the authenticity, doesn't it? Well, I see you actually got a UNESCO Biosphere Award in 2022, so that's kind of living what you say, walking the talk.
Well, we have this incredible landscape around us that we can enjoy through all of the public footpaths, through the glens, foraging sustainably, of course, and also encouraging wildlife in our own gardens. And I've never been to a place like the Isle of Man. And every time I leave the island, I just can't wait to get back here. It's just such a beautiful place to live, safe, secure, and I feel that it could have a very bright future.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. No guns either. Given where you're from.
No guns. The crime is negligible compared to other places.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful.
Oh, that's great. The Isle of Man has challenges. What would you say that the main ones are for you, other than, your business, the barriers to entry for Europe? It seems pretty big, actually. There's nothing we can do about Brexit, I suppose, whilst we're part of the UK. But are there any other sort of challenges and that you can say that you've?
The main one for me is our relationship to the UK as far as my industry, my cosmetic side is concerned. It's still not established. I've spoken to an MHK about it. I've spoken to trading standards. So much of the legislation on the Isle of Man is copied and pasted, I feel, from the UK.
It is.
And we're so small as well. So to have a small industry like mine, which there's maybe a handful of people that do in the Isle of Man, and have special legislation just for us to enable us to trade in the UK is challenging. So there are gray areas, for example, with shipping products like cosmetic products to the UK, which I'd like to see more addressed. But other than that, and the postage, I'm pretty happy.
Nothing to moan about. So, I mean, what opportunities can you see? Sort of what solutions and opportunities would you identify from your experience here?
I guess from myself, from a more digital perspective, my business is mainly online. So with digital content, so YouTube, my website, I make money through display ads, affiliate relationships, things like this. So it's all very intangible. And if you can create a business on the Isle of Man that is intangible, then it is a great place, because from a tax perspective, it's quite good, but also you can reach a very wide audience, as e-gaming has taken advantage of.
Yeah, it has.
But if you are starting a business in the Isle of Man that is brick and mortar, that is manufacturing based, product based, it's challenging, I would say, on a number of levels. Getting staff in, all the restaurants closing down. A friend of mine closed her restaurant earlier this year.
Which restaurant was this?
Bursa in Port Erin. Yeah. So she closed. Maybe she'll reopen in the future, but lots of other restaurants as well have had to close down. And then if you're making any products and getting them to the UK as the first hurdle, and then getting them to Europe and potentially further afield, it is challenging due to price, shipping things and the logistics and all of that. So it really just depends on the industry. And
yeah, it almost sounds like it is a think piece for government to look at, to promote Isle of Man business, and yet, they own the steam packet, right? So surely there could be some shipping allowance made for. Anyway, that's
so yeah, it is a hot topic, and it's one aspect of what's happening with the island right now that is kind of holding us back.
Yeah, that's something
holding
to be
business
addressed.
Back.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll leave you to fight the good fight on that. Good luck. Good luck. So what have you got planned next? You're going to continue with your YouTube channels now that you're back out in the garden and back to us?
Oh, yes. So I'll be carrying on mainly as a digital content creator, but I have a new book in the works. I will let people know more about that when I get it all sorted with the publisher and everything. And
do you have a title in mind? Will it be a woman's garden 2, or?
No. I will share that when it's a little bit closer to the time.
Fantastic. Okay. Have you got a favorite quote for us, Tanya?
My favorite quote is, "You can do anything, but you can't do everything." Mm-hmm. And that is something that really keeps me in check and helps me to deal with the day-to-day of running a small business on my own. So focus on what I can do.
I need to take heed of that, actually. Okay. Thank you. And so where can our listeners go to learn more about you and all the things that you're up to? We've mentioned your YouTube channel.
Yes. So it's Lovely Greens. So all you need to do is just pop that into your search bar and look for Lovely Greens YouTube channel. I have a website, Instagram, Facebook, and other socials.
Yes, I can vouch for that. That's exactly what I did, and everything pops up. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, Tanya. It's been an absolute privilege to meet you. Thank you. Thanks for listening this far. I hope you found this episode to be valuable. If so, I'd like to ask you for a small favour. Would you please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review, because that's one of the best ways for others to find the series. And please send a link to the podcast to 3 friends or colleagues who know they'll find it helpful. That way, we can spread the word about how great a place the Isle of Man is to live and work, and help spread some positivity. Thanks again for tuning in and being part of our great community. I'll see you next time. Island Influencers is a fortnightly podcast. Make sure you don't miss the next episode by clicking the follow button on your podcast platform. A big thanks to the producer Catherine Watts from Social Cues and editor Martin Bamford at Bear Content, and thank you for listening.